I never thought I'd be the guy to catch his wife cheating, especially not in the middle of building my own damn business. Sarah and I had been married for nearly 5 years, and for most of that time, it felt like we were on the up and up. She always had that sharp tongue, that bitchy attitude that could cut right through you, but I figured that was just her personality. I was busy trying to get my private practice off the ground, working long hours, pouring every ounce of energy I had into making it succeed. Honestly, I was proud of myself for finally carving out a space where I could do what I loved and be independent for once. Things started feeling off maybe 6 months ago. She got more bitchy than usual, snapping at me over small things, accusing me of being distant, distracted. I brushed it off as stress. I was always stressed when building the practice, juggling schedules, trying to get insurance approvals, dealing with insurance companies, and endless paperwork. But then I noticed subtle shifts in her behavior, more secretive about her phone, canceling plans last minute, and worse, she started coming home late more often. I'd ask where she'd been and she'd throw a fit, calling me paranoid or insecure. She'd say I was just jealous that I didn't trust her. That was pretty much her go-to whenever I questioned anything. The worst part, I started catching her lying. Small things at first. She'd say she was out with friends, but then I'd see her posting on social media at a different bar or a different town. She'd get defensive, tell me I was imagining things or overreacting. But I knew something was fishy. I even installed some security cameras in the house after I caught her sneaking around. Not because I wanted to spy on her, but I suspected she was hiding something, and I wanted to protect my investment, my practice, my home, my sanity. One night she stayed out late again. I waited up for her, glued to the security cameras app on my phone, trying to ignore the pounding in my chest. Around 2 a.m., I saw her get into a car, not with her friends but with a guy I didn't recognize. They parked behind a strip mall, got out of the car and went into a small hotel. I couldn't believe my eyes. My hands started shaking. My mind reeled. That was the moment I realized what was really going on. She was cheating on me, right in front of my damn face, and I had the footage to prove it. It was like my world just crumbled in an instant. I never thought I'd be the guy to catch his wife with another man, but there it was. All the lies, the sneaking around, the late nights, they weren't just about her being busy or stressed. It was about her betraying everything we had. I sat there, staring at the screen, feeling like I'd been punched in the gut. The shock was overwhelming. Part of me wanted to scream, yell, break something, but I knew I had to think. I wasn't going to let her get away with this without a fight. I had to decide what to do next, but one thing was clear: I was done being the fool. The next morning I couldn't sleep. My mind kept replaying what I saw on the camera feed. The way she looked leaving that hotel, the way she tried to hide her face like she knew she'd been caught. I kept asking myself how I missed the signs, how I didn't see that she had crossed every line I thought was solid. It was like she'd been cheating on me for months, maybe longer, right under my nose while I was out in the trenches trying to make a future for us. I felt a mix of anger, betrayal, and sadness, like I'd been living in some kind of nightmare I couldn't wake up from. I decided I needed to confront her. I waited until she got home that evening, trying to keep my composure. When she walked in, fresh from her business trip, or whatever she was calling it, I looked her straight in the eyes and told her I knew. She immediately started with the usual lies: "You're crazy, you're paranoid, you're just insecure. That bitch." She was trying to gaslight me, make me feel like I was losing it, but I just kept my calm, showing her the footage, the proof I had. I felt my blood boiling as I watched her turn beet red, her false bravado cracking. She didn't deny it outright at first. She tried to spin some bullshit about how she'd been stressed, how I don't give her enough attention, how she needed comfort and someone who actually cared. Her words were hollow, and her excuses came out like they'd been rehearsed. She had the nerve to say I was the one crossing boundaries, that I was controlling for installing cameras, that I was paranoid because I didn't trust her. Yeah, right. I could see right through her lies. She was trying to manipulate me into feeling guilty, but I wasn't falling for it. I told her I was done with her lies, done with her cheating, done with the bullshit. I told her I was going to leave her that night. Her reaction: She called me a jealous bastard, said I was overreacting and that I needed to get a grip. She even tried crying, trying to turn it around on me, accusing me of spying on her and invading her privacy. That was classic Sarah, playing the victim, twisting everything to make herself look innocent. But I knew better. I saw the truth on the screen. She had crossed every line, and I wasn't going to pretend that it didn't hurt. It hurt worse than I ever thought possible. My mind was racing with what to do. I wanted to pack her bags right then and there, toss her out and never look back. But part of me, call it stubbornness or maybe just that desire to understand what the hell went wrong, wanted to hear her out first. I told her to leave, pack her stuff and don't come back. She threw a tantrum, calling me all kinds of names, jealous, possessive, insecure, and then she stormed out, slamming the door behind her like she was the victim. But I knew the truth. She was the one who had been lying, sneaking around, betraying everything we built. That night I felt like I'd lost a part of myself, like I'd been sucker punched in the gut. How could she do this? How could she lie so easily? I was furious, but at the same time I couldn't deny that I felt broken. It was a betrayal so deep I didn't know how I'd ever trust again. After she left, I sat alone in the silence of the house, staring at the empty space where she used to be. The camera footage kept replaying in my head, each moment. Dagger twisting in my stomach. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and so damn angry I could have exploded. But I also felt this strange numbness, like I was already preparing myself for whatever came next. I knew this wasn't just about her cheating. It was about a fundamental breakdown of everything I believed in our marriage. The trust was gone, shattered into pieces I didn't know how to pick up. I had no idea what my next move was, but I knew I wasn't going to let her get away with it. Not without a fight. The days that followed were a blur of anger, disbelief, and a strange kind of clarity. I spent hours staring at the footage, trying to piece together how I missed all the signs, how I was so busy building my practice that I didn't see the cracks widening between us. Every time I looked at her photos, her texts, her excuses, those damn lies, it made my stomach turn. I couldn't understand how she could do this to me, to us. It wasn't just the cheating. It was the way she lied, spun her stories like they were some kind of twisted game. She'd lie about going out with friends, then get caught with that guy. She'd say she was stressed, but I saw her sneaking around, texting late at night, meeting clients that were never there. I was furious at her, but I was also furious at myself for not catching it sooner. How could I have been so blind? I'd worked so hard on my practice, poured everything into it, and somehow she managed to hide a whole affair behind my back. That realization made me feel betrayed on a level I couldn't put into words. I was angry, yes, but mostly hurt. It felt like I'd been living a lie, like I was a fool for trusting her even for a second. I decided I had to confront her again. I wanted some kind of answers. No, I needed them. I called her that evening, told her I wanted to meet and talk face to face. She hesitated, then finally agreed, sounding annoyed and bitchy as always. When she arrived, I laid out everything. The footage, the texts, everything that pointed to her betrayal. Her face twisted with irritation, then she started with her usual bullshit. "You're overreacting," she snapped. "You're making a mountain out of a molehill." She said she was stressed out, that she needed someone to talk to, and that I was being paranoid. I asked her if that someone was the guy from the hotel, and her eyes flickered for a split second. Then she shrugged and said it was none of my business. It was infuriating how she twisted things, how she refused to own up. She tried to make me feel guilty for catching her, for invading her privacy, but I wasn't having any of it. I told her she was a liar, a cheat, and that I couldn't stay married to her anymore. I said I wanted a divorce, and I meant it. Watching her try to wiggle out of it, call me insecure, accuse me of destroying her life, it only cemented my decision. I couldn't forgive her. Not after all those lies, not after she crossed every line I thought was sacred. The emotional toll was brutal. I went from feeling rage to deep sadness, then to a numbness I couldn't shake. I'd be lying if I said I didn't feel broken. I'd invested so much in making this relationship work, and now it was all crumbling around me. I wondered how I had let things get so bad, how I missed the signs, how I didn't see the woman I loved turning into this stranger who could betray me so easily. Every memory seemed tainted, every interaction now filled with suspicion. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and so angry I couldn't breathe sometimes. But deep down, I knew one thing. I wasn't going to let her walk away without some consequences. This wasn't just about her cheating. It was about the fact that she crossed every line of respect I had left for her. So I started planning my next move, how to handle the mess she'd made, how to protect what little dignity I had left, and how to move on from this betrayal. I knew I deserved better than someone who could lie, cheat, and manipulate their way out of their own lies. I was hurt, yes, but I was also determined. The trust was shattered into pieces, but I was going to pick up those pieces and figure out what my life looked like without her. I had to. After that confrontation, I realized I couldn't just sit around feeling sorry for myself or letting her manipulate the situation anymore. I started thinking about how to actually get back at her, how to make her see that she didn't get to walk all over me and get away scot-free. Honestly, I'd never been the vengeful type before, but something about the betrayal pushed me into a different headspace. I couldn't let her think she'd won just because she lied her way out of it. I needed a plan, something smart, something effective. So I went back to the security cameras. I had already caught her red-handed, but I wanted to see if there was more I could find. Turns out she had been sneaking around for months, not just with that guy from the hotel, but with others too. She was a serial cheat, and the more I dug, the angrier I got. But I didn't just want to confront her anymore. I wanted her to really understand what she'd lost. I decided I'd gather all the evidence, not just from the cameras, but from her own phone, her social media, her texts. I wanted her to see the extent of how much she'd betrayed me, how much she'd crossed every boundary I thought we had. I started by installing a keylogger on her phone when she wasn't looking. Yeah, I know, creepy, but desperate times call for desperate measures. I wanted to see what she was hiding, who else she was talking to, what kind of stupid lies she was telling about me. It was sickening but necessary. I also went through her social media accounts, her private messages, her deleted chats, the photos she'd tried to hide. Every piece of evidence I found only fueled my anger. She was playing a game, and I was the fool who didn't see her true face until it was too late. Meanwhile, she kept lying, calling me insecure and obsessive. She told her friends I was crazy for accusing her of having an affair. She painted herself as the victim, like I was some jealous psycho for catching her. But I knew the truth, and I was sick of her spinning her web of lies. I wanted her to feel what I was feeling, the betrayal, the humiliation, the loss. I wanted her to see that I wasn't just going to roll over and accept it. I was planning my move, every step calculated, making sure she'd understand that her actions had consequences. One day, I invited her over again, this time under the guise of wanting to talk things through. But really, I was ready for a showdown. I laid all my evidence on the table, showed her every text, every photo, every secret chat. Her face turned beet red when she saw the screenshots of her admitting to hooking up with that guy, and the messages where she said she was bored and needed some excitement. She started to stammer, then got bitchy, accusing me of invading her privacy again. I told her I was done playing nice. I wanted her to understand that I knew everything and I wasn't going to pretend I didn't. That's when she finally snapped. She started crying, begging me to believe she loved me, that it was just a mistake, that she'd never do it again. Yeah, right. I just looked at her and said, "You crossed every line, Sarah. You cheated with my patient, with someone I trusted. You crossed a boundary that can't be uncrossed. You've lied, manipulated, and betrayed everything I thought we had. And I'm not sticking around to be your fool anymore." I told her I was going to take everything I could from her. My house, the money we shared, a clean break so I could finally start over. The look in her eyes, part defiance, part desperation, made me realize she was going to fight me all the way. She was good at playing the victim, at twisting the story, but I didn't care anymore. I knew what she was. Someone who crossed every boundary, who threw away respect for her marriage just for a quick fuck. And I was sick of pretending I was okay with it. It was time I took control, showed her that her actions had real consequences. That was my next step, making sure she paid for what she did, not just with words, but with real, tangible loss. I was done trusting her, done feeling like a fool. It was war now, and I was ready to fight. The aftermath of that night was intense. I started organizing everything: the house, The bank accounts, her clothes, her things. I wasn't going to let her walk away with a damn thing that I didn't deserve. I wanted her to feel what it was like to lose everything she thought she had. The more I gathered, the more I realized how much she had been hiding from me, and honestly, it felt like I was finally regaining some sense of control after being blindsided for so long. I set a firm boundary. She wasn't going to stay in the house. I told her she needed to leave, and I made damn sure she understood that this wasn't just about her cheating. It was about the fact that she'd broken every damn rule of marriage and respect. I called a lawyer, started the divorce process, and made it clear I wasn't going to be manipulated or guilted into staying. I knew I deserved better than someone who could lie so easily and betray me with one of my own patients, someone I trusted to help people, and instead, she used that trust to cheat behind my back. And the thing is, despite everything, I felt this strange mix of relief and heartbreak. Relief because I finally saw her true colors and took back some sense of control. Heartbreak because I loved her, or at least I thought I did, and now that love was shattered into pieces. Every time I looked at her belongings being packed up, I felt like I was losing a part of myself. Still, I knew staying wouldn't fix anything. It would only drag me down further. I had to cut my losses and move on. The one thing I wasn't prepared for was how vindictive she got. She started to spin stories to her friends, painting herself as the victim, claiming I was crazy for accusing her of cheating. She said I was controlling, that I was paranoid, that I was just jealous because I couldn't keep her happy. The lies were relentless. I knew I couldn't stop her, but I didn't care anymore. The truth was out and I was done playing her game. I told her she could go, but I wasn't going to be the one to chase her or beg her to stay. Deep down, I felt a huge weight lift once she left. The house felt empty but somehow lighter. I no longer had to wonder if she was sneaking around, lying to my face. I had all the proof I needed, and I was finally going to move forward, alone if necessary. I started focusing on myself, on my practice, on rebuilding what I'd lost emotionally. I knew there would be a long road ahead, healing from the betrayal, trusting again, figuring out how to love myself after all this crap. Looking back, I realize I've learned a lot from this nightmare. Trust is fragile, and once broken, it's almost impossible to fix. But I also learned that I'm stronger than I thought, strong enough to face the truth, to confront the betrayal, and to pick myself up afterward. I don't regret the decisions I made, even if they hurt like hell. Because I know one thing for sure, I won't let someone treat me like that again. No matter how much I loved her or how much it hurt, standing my ground was the only way to finally start healing. And if there's one piece of advice I could give to anyone in a similar spot, it's this: trust your gut, gather your evidence, and don't be afraid to walk away. You deserve loyalty, not betrayal. Now, looking back, I realize how much this whole experience changed me. I used to think that marriage was about loyalty and trust, but after Sarah's betrayal, I've come to see it differently. It's about knowing your worth and not letting someone else diminish that. I still feel the sting of what happened. The betrayal cuts deep, and the scars will probably stay with me for a long time. But I also know that I'm stronger because of it. I learned not to ignore the warning signs, not to dismiss my gut feelings, and most importantly, not to let someone treat me like I was disposable. The most painful part was trusting her at first. I thought she was my partner, my confidant. I never imagined she'd be capable of the kind of betrayal she pulled off. The fact that she cheated with my patient, someone I thought was part of my life, someone I had a professional relationship with, made it even worse. It wasn't just an affair. It was a complete crossing of every boundary I'd set in my personal and professional life. It made me question everything I believed about trust, about boundaries, about who I was with. But out of all the chaos, I found clarity. I realized I deserve someone who respects me, who values loyalty and honesty. I don't regret standing up for myself, even if it meant a lot of pain in the process. Sometimes you have to lose what you thought was yours in order to find what truly belongs to you, you yourself. I'm still healing, still trying to put the pieces back together, but I know I will be okay. I don't need her to define me or my future. So here's what I want anyone reading this to take away. If you're in a situation where your gut says something's wrong, pay attention. Gather your evidence if necessary because denial only makes things worse. Don't let anyone cheat, lie, or manipulate their way out of the truth. And most importantly, if you find yourself betrayed, whether it's a partner, a friend, or anyone, you have the power to walk away, to rebuild, and to be better for it. I'm proof of that now. Life doesn't always go the way we expect, but sometimes the hardest lessons teach us the most about who we really are.